Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of After 30 with Cara Eriguel. I hope you're all safe and well, and I'm happy to be back here. And we have yet another exciting episode, and one of my favorite guests on the podcast today, actually. So, first, I want to ask you this question. Do you want to have the power to make your life exactly the way you want it to be? We all do, right? And we're all in this journey to being our best selves and working on the traumas and pains that we carry because we all have it, really, just different levels and varieties, so to speak. For a lot of us, it takes years and years of hard work and therapy. And up until recently, I honestly thought I would be working on and with my traumas until my dying day. I never knew I had the power to make my life exactly the way I want it to be. Not by any outside force or anything like that, but by tapping into my own mind, making use of my own energy, and working on my mind and my body with powerful healing breaths. Of course, this is not magic, but it may as well be. if I were to base it solely on my experience, but a huge reminder that we hold our own power. We are in charge of our own peace and our energies. Isn't that amazing? Today, we're talking about Theta Healing, what it is, why it works, how it works, and why maybe you should give it a try. Everybody, please welcome back on the show life designer and well being coach, Theta Healing instructor, and founder of Third Eye Wellness, and the host of Project Loving Myself podcast. Everybody, please welcome back on the show, Sanaiyah Gurnamal. Hi, Sanaiyah.
Hi, Cara. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm already so excited about our conversation because everything you said literally hit the nose. I mean, it was just so perfect. It was so well said. I couldn't have put it better the way you described what this power is that lies within us. So I'm really looking forward to taking this conversation further.
Thank you very much. And I just want to start by saying I really love your energy. And I'm so happy to have you back on the show. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank
I'm so
you. It is
excited.
me too. Me too.
Okay, let me start by asking you this. Okay, what is Theta Healing? Because not a lot of people are familiar with it. You know what's funny? I actually talked to my brother, who's a doctor, about
Mhm.
this. Like right after my first session with you, I was like, I tried Theta Healing. He's like, oh, what's that? And then, before I even tried to explain it, he was like, oh, because like our brains, like, does it have anything to do with that? Well, like the beta, alpha, delta, ganyan, ganyan. Tapos sabi niya, our brains have like five ba? Tama ba? Like five. I forget
Brain
the
states.
medical term. There you
Yeah,
go. But
it's brain
so
waves.
he's, oh, there you go. All right. So what is it? Why is it called theta healing? What is it? And if you were to explain the concept of theta healing to a 5-year-old, how would you describe it?
Okay, great question. So, Theta healing is a technique. It's a technique that we can use. You can learn the technique and you can use it in your own life. You can also go see somebody who is a theta healer who's going to help you work with really any challenge in your life. It could be something medical. I get people who have cancer. I get people who have cardiovascular disease. They've got allergies. They've got thyroid problems. They have infertility. They have all kinds of things like an allergic reaction, or they've got some reproductive challenges, ovarian issues, any kind of cancer. I mean, the list is endless. We can work with whatever physical condition is going on in the body because we understand that behind every physical challenge, every disease, every dysfunction, and every disorder in our lives, there's an emotional cause. There is some kind of history behind it. There are some feelings, there are some thoughts, there might be a trauma, there might be some situations or circumstances, and all of those led to the current challenge that a client is experiencing. So on one hand, we can work with anything physical. We also work with anything emotional. So clients come to me with breakups. They've broken up with somebody that they've been seeing for a while. They are heartbroken, or they're trying to understand, why did it all go so badly? Why did it end that way? Or perhaps I have a client who is looking for their soulmate and they can't seem to find the right person. They're always stuck in these loops and patterns of the wrong guy. So we could work on that. I've had people work on relationship issues, perhaps with their family, with their parents, with a sister, a brother, with a business partner. So issues like betrayal, issues that may span pretty much every human interaction that we could have. And so what we do is we work with our clients through this technique of theta healing, which is a blend of psychotherapy and healing. Okay, so you combine these two really, I would say they sound very different, but they actually are very complementary together. Okay, and you work with your client to understand what is going on in their life, where is it coming from, when did it start, what is the different contributions or contributors to this problem in their life, what caused it, why are they going through it, and what can they do about it. So in a session we explore this with the client, and once we understand what is the root cause, okay, where this all started, then the actual healing part of the session happens. We might do some forgiveness work. We might do some maybe going through to understand why this happened and what the person needs to learn from it. What are the lessons? How can we go from being disempowered by that very negative situation in our life to becoming an empowered person? Okay. Now, theta healing itself has a lot of different elements to it, excuse me. So you mentioned about the brainwave states that your brother talked to you about, and it's true. Our brain has a series of different brain waves that is constantly releasing or emitting at any time. So you and I are talking in this conversation. Our brain is sending out beta waves because beta waves are conversational. They're active. So when we're talking, when we're engaged, it's beta brain waves that's predominantly, like if I were to do like if I were to put electrodes on my brain, then a scientist would say, oh, she's got predominantly beta waves as we're talking. Okay. Now, if I were to relax, read a book, do yoga, meditation, perhaps just sit quietly, my brain waves would slow down and it would go into an alpha state. So these are slower waves, not as high peaks. They're just kind of a little bit more wider space. They are slower. I don't know if you've ever seen a brain wave. It looks kind of like, mountains going up and down. And if I were to go even deeper into a relaxed state, so I'm talking deep meditation, hypnotherapy, I'm talking about actually a sleep wave, that would be called theta brainwaves. So theta is actually a sleep wave. You generate the most theta brainwaves in your sleep. Okay. But of course, when we're doing theta healing, we're pretty much wide awake. We're just tuned into these theta brainwaves, which are slower waves. Okay. And it takes your brain from your conscious mind into your subconscious. So as a theta healer works with you, their brainwave is in this very deep subconscious space. And you, as the client who's working with them, your brain does the same thing. It actually syncs with each other. Okay, so there's a sense of synchronicity. And so my clients will report that they are so relaxed when they're doing a theta healing session.
Yeah.
Okay? And it feels like all their worries, all their stress just kind of melts away. And that's how you are when you're sleeping, right? Your brain's just relaxed. It's in a space of healing. Because when you sleep, your body goes into this rejuvenation mode. It goes into a mode of kind of balancing whatever's out of balance in your body. It goes into, like, the sleep is healing. Okay. It helps your body recover. It helps your body get its energy back. And so what we're doing is using that theta brainwave, that sleep wave, in an awake state, allowing us to be in a subconscious state, which is very powerful. Okay.
Yeah.
And in that space, we're able to actually resolve, correct, heal whatever is going on in your life. Now, I know that was a lot of information, but we will unpack it further in the rest of our conversation. I'm sure you'll ask me all the right questions that will make it a little clearer to everyone listening in.
Thank you so much for explaining that. I mean, yes, it is true. There are a lot of like technical terms and some jargons in there, of course, like anything else, that and it's kind of hard to understand in the beginning, again, like everything else that you're unfamiliar with. But um I just want to share like my experience with it as well because it's amazing. My first session with Sanaya, I told her, I've been doing therapy for years, and I honestly thought, and I said it in the beginning, I honestly thought I would be doing it for the rest of my life because in my head I've imprinted that, oh, it's a wound that became a scar, and it's a scar that I'm just gonna have to live with. But remember, you told me that you were like, oh, but what if you don't even have to? What if you can laser that scar? What if you can completely like take it out? And I honestly did not believe you when you said that. But I was in that space. But it's amazing how I was brought into the space that I am in now. Like, I honestly didn't think it worked in the beginning. Like, I was like, what am I supposed to expect after this? But then weeks later and up until today, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. If I didn't do theta healing, if I didn't have those two sessions that I had, dalawa pa lang yun, as opposed to like 6 years of me taking therapy, the traditional therapy, I'm already making decisions and holding, and feeling like holding my own power, doing things that I never thought I would have even done before, that brought me to this space. And it's just amazing. Okay, so let's dive deeper into that. I love how
Okay.
you said in the beginning that yes, you can heal, you can touch, you can even heal your physical struggles and emotional struggles. And I honestly also believe that like cancers and like these illnesses are really deeply rooted into emotions and our inner pains, and it contributes to that. So how
Yeah.
does theta healing help to resolve your emotional and even your physical struggles, like you said?
Okay, so Kara, first of all, I wanted to share that there have been advancements made in every area of life. Technology, technological advances, all kinds of advancements in our understanding. That's a really big one. And it's happened in medicine, it's happened in education, it's happened in the way we communicate, it's happened in every space. So why not in therapy? And so, really, what we've seen is therapy has evolved throughout time. Traditionally, people would go to see a psychiatrist. They would see the psychiatrist once a week for years and years and years. And it was really something that took time. But if you look at now what is available to people, techniques like theta healing, things can resolve, can heal very quickly. And you are a very good example of that. Something that took you years and years and years. In one session, we were able to essentially turn it around. I also want to share a quote from actually a psychiatrist who was a student of mine. Okay. He said, as a clinical psychologist and psychiatrist, I am amazed by how theta healing produces deep and transformative healing in just a matter of a few minutes. The same degree of healing that might take place over a period of months or years of conventional psychotherapy. This is coming from Dr. Randy Deloso, who is a clinical psychologist and psychiatrist. Okay, so even
Hmm.
in the medical community, those who have actually experienced this kind of alternative healing or other possibilities of well-being, they share the same regard for the possibilities, the
Hmm.
capabilities. And I have a lot of actually medical professionals who are my clients or my students, and they use theta healing. Okay,
Hmm.
I kid you not, they use theta healing with their clients, though their clients may not be aware. I
Oh.
remember specifically one of my students was a cardiovascular surgeon,
Uh-huh.
and she did a surgery, and there was a complication after the surgery. And she was informed of the complication via the telephone, via text message. Okay. And of course, she was rushing to the hospital.
Hmm.
But before she got there on her way, she already kind of connected through Theta Healing. She did a scan on her patient's body while en route. Okay. Using her subconscious mind, she scanned the patient's body and she knew exactly what had gone wrong. So once she got to the hospital, she wasted no time in addressing whatever that client needed, whatever that
Hmm.
patient needed. Okay. And she was able to actually trust her intuition and trust theta healing to get her to save her patient's life. So that was pretty remarkable.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's just one example of the many ways Theta Healing has helped my students and my clients. Okay. Now, you also asked me a couple of questions about how it works with, let's say, cancer. Now,
Mm-hmm.
we know medically that many diseases are stress related.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, what is stress? Stress is a state of being out of balance, of being uncomfortable, or your mental energy is tied up in some kind of worry or anxiety or
Mm-hmm.
discomfort. Probably has some uncertainty in it, probably
Mm-hmm.
has elements of pressure, okay, or negative emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know there is an emotional component to everything that is physical going on in our body. Studies
Right.
and research has shown time and time again that people heal when they're more positive, when they're surrounded by family and love, when they have kind of a support system, which
Mm-hmm.
is why, most oncologists or many other medical professionals will always make sure that the patient has a good support network. And they often even prescribe the patient to go to some kind of a community and organization to get that support.
Right.
Alcoholics go to rehab, or they go to like
Mm-hmm.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Anonymous. Yeah.
The support system is important. Same
Yeah.
thing with drug abuse. Okay. So we know that things like our emotional support, nurturing, having the right people there, those things are very important for our healing to happen, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
physical or emotional. And so what Theta Healing does is it gives the client that support, that emotional foundation, that emotional, I would say, what's the right word to use here? The emotional bandwidth to
Mm-hmm.
process whatever difficulty or challenge is going on in their life. Because a lot of times when we have these difficulties in our life, we don't want to think about it. Okay. Or
Mm-hmm.
we overthink about it and feel helpless. We
Or we
go
blame
into a
everybody else around us
or we
except
blame everybody
ourselves.
else, right? And we feel really bad about it. And we're cycling through these ups and downs, and we
Mm-hmm.
feel bad, and we feel, powerless and helpless, like there's nothing we can do. We feel stuck. We can't move forward. And so
Mm-hmm.
we've got all of this going on, and we're not able to actually get through it. We're not able to process it. We're not able to deal with it. And so what
Yeah.
Theta Healing does is it empowers people with the ability to gain that clarity, get proper direction and resolution on whatever's going on in their life. And it often happens in one session. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, in one session, you almost felt like, wait, where are those feelings?
Mm-hmm.
Where are all those, emotions that I was dealing with for such a long time? Where's that anger?
I missed
Okay.
it for a while. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm sure
Because
you
I've
were
been
looking
so
for it,
used to it.
right? You were looking for it. You're like, where'd it go? And
Yeah.
it was as quick as ripping a band-aid off. Okay. And that's what Theta Healing is. It's the ability to move forward from whatever is blocking you, limiting you, getting in your way. Okay. And
Mhm.
most of the stuff in our life, most of the challenges, they're kind of like cages of our own making. They're prisons. I actually said that on my podcast last week,
Mhm.
that most of the issues in our life are just prisons of our own making. We
Yeah.
think we are stuck. We think we can't release. We think we're going to be here forever in this space of being angry or hurt or miserable or mourning a loss. But we can
Mm.
actually move on. We can actually let it go, and we can understand why it happened. So we can
Yeah.
have perspective. Okay. And we
Right.
can recognize that all these negative things that may have happened to me, all this trauma, all this baggage I carry, there was a reason for it. And all I have to do is understand, what was this reason? And how am I going to take the lessons, the learnings from this, and apply it to my life so that I can be the best version of myself, so that I can live my best life? Okay. Because that's the only thing standing between where you are right now and where
Mhm.
you could be.
Right.
Okay. And I just want to say one more thing. I was working, Carol, with my team
Mhm.
on my vision for the Third Eye Wellness, my well-being center.
Mhm.
So we just kind of want to change things around. We made a few changes in the organization, and we said, okay, let's kind of go back to our vision. What is our purpose? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why is my well-being center working with individuals in these one-on-one sessions, or doing, classes and webinars? Why do we do everything? And it comes back to, we do it because our goal is to help people get to a place where they are their best version and they are living their best life. That's
Mm-hmm.
literally in my core purpose of why we do what we do. Okay. I think everybody can live their best life. I think everybody can be their best. We just got to help them release and work through whatever is getting in the way. And it's as simple as that.
Exactly. And then that's so powerful. I love what it is that you do, because it's so true. We can do it. But just not a lot of us are aware that, yeah, we can do it. And we can hold our own power, because sometimes we become comfortable in our own discomfort, our own discomfort of the pain in it, because it's so familiar. Maybe you grew up to it. Maybe you grew up in a turbulent household, and you're so used to that energy and that environment, and even thinking about unpacking that and letting that go is so scary that you don't even want to get there. But that's exactly it. Wouldn't you want to live your best life and be the best version of yourself? I really love that. And I love everything that you said about it, about everything coming from deep within us, and us having the power to change it, and having the power to go through it and use our ano ba, mess as our message eventually. And I just want to share, how it feels for me personally, this state that you were talking about while you're in the theta healing session. And after that, if you guys do yoga, afterwards, it's after, for me, honestly, when you do the shavasana, if I'm even saying it correctly,
You are.
when you're just taking these deep breaths, and your body feels like you're so connected to the ground, and everything just feels so open, your muscles, your heart, your brain, and you're in this state of just being in the now, right here, and being grateful, parang bliss. You're in a state of bliss.
Peace. Peace.
Peace, exactly. You're
Yeah.
in a peaceful state. And I, it's strange also, because I can also attribute that feeling to when I'm in my flow, when I'm at work, for example, when I'm hosting, or even when I'm podcasting. I don't notice the time. My back hurts on a regular, but when I'm in my flow, I don't feel it.
Yeah.
I don't feel the time passing. I don't feel any pain in my body. And that's exactly how it feels for me during the session, and slowly after, as I go through my days.
Yeah. Can you imagine being in a state of flow, like as your default setting? Imagine flow is every day.
Uh huh.
Imagine flow is living your life in alignment with all the possibilities that are out there for you. Having just a sense of inner peace as you go about your day, knowing that
Mm-hmm.
everything had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you understand why it happened, and you feel stronger for it. You feel
Yeah.
like you've grown so much. You feel
Yeah.
like, wow, if I didn't go through everything I went through, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And for that, I am grateful. And
Mm-hmm.
gratitude is something that comes in much later, when we
Mm-hmm.
have a sense of kind of personal independence, confidence, self love. Then we're able to have gratitude for all the things that got us to that point, right? And so, what
Exactly.
theta healing does is it kind of accelerates the process, it speeds it up. You don't have to spend years and years and years of kind of therapy, or just struggling and suffering to finally get there. If you ever do, a lot of people don't. Theta
Mm-hmm.
healing kind of speeds up the process, so you're already in that element. You're in your best self, you're in your element, you're living kind of that life that you would have if all this other stuff didn't get in the way.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So that's what theta
Exactly.
healing is. It is that state of inner peace, of flow, feeling at one with the universe, feeling aligned with yourself, feeling joy and happiness. These are all the things that we kind of work with our clients to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Self-fulfillment, contentment, happiness, joy. And I know that, Kara, you've experienced a lot of this since then. So, I'm happy that you're sharing this, because that's the problem. As you said, you pointed out so aptly, most people don't know this is possible. Most people
Mm-hmm.
don't know that there's another way to live. And that's really because of a very simple thing. So, our brain, scientifically speaking, our
Mm-hmm.
brain prefers a known than an unknown. It's kind of like wired into our brain
Yeah.
that we prefer what we know over what we
Safe.
don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's safer.
Yeah.
And even if what we know is pain and suffering and like sadness and betrayal, whatever you may be going through, even if the known is that, it still prefers it to the unknown of freedom from all of that, because it doesn't know that. Like, if you've grown up all your life and in your house there's always been screaming and yelling, like your parents were always
Mm.
fighting with each other, right? And I
Yeah.
had just worked with a client like this where his parents were always just fighting. The
Yeah.
house was always loud,
Uh-huh.
noisy. And so him and his siblings, that's how they learned to communicate. They'd
Yeah.
always be fighting. They'd always be arguing. There's always aggression, almost to a point of violence, even among the siblings. And that's how they grew up. And I'm talking
Gosh.
to him because he's in a relationship with someone else now. And his
Oh.
partner came from a different upbringing. And his partner's like, that's not how life is.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how life is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, very lucky for him, he has now become aware through his partner that that's not normal. That's not
Yeah.
how it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's come in for healing because, he's like, this is all I know. This is the only way I know how to communicate. And when he communicates and he gets agitated or stressed or they're in a fight, he reverts back to that kid who only knows how to get aggressive or angry or to shout, yell, okay, or be kind of really just tough,
On
because
defense mode lagi. Like,
defense mode, attack
yeah.
mode,
Yeah.
deflecting mode, that's all he knows. That's what he saw.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he grew up. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know it could be any other way. Okay. And so, what we did in this session, I just had the session last week, was I took him back to childhood and I
Mm-hmm.
showed him the perspective of how scary it must have been for him as a child when he first recognized all the shouting and yelling and how scared it felt for that little boy to see his parents do that. How much fear. And he could connect with that. So I didn't
Yeah.
even need to tell him that. I took him back there and we recognized that this is what that little boy felt. And it
Mm-hmm.
gave him the perspective of what that kind of behavior feels like for somebody else. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we had to kind of heal from the perspective of the little boy who was fearful and scared and didn't know how to deal with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it influenced him. It influenced his personality in many ways. So we did a lot of healing, a lot of forgiveness. I helped him to forgive his parents. I helped him to forgive the situation
Mm-hmm.
because it's nobody's fault. Even though he might blame his parents or he might blame his childhood, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. We
Mm-hmm.
can't change it. We cannot change the past. All we can do is understand it, learn from it, and allow it to make us better.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was able to forgive his parents. We actually reenacted a forgiveness in his mind between him and his parents. And we did a little bit of that, Kara, in our session too,
Yeah, we did.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you remember. And so
Yeah.
he really felt his body release all that burden and baggage that he's been carrying around with him. It happened in the session, and he felt lighter as he released and he forgave. And finally, the most powerful part of the session is he forgave himself. He forgave himself
Yeah.
for every single situation where he lost his temper, he lost his cool. Because, after we lose our temper or after we just handle things in a way that didn't go really well, we feel bad,
Oh yeah.
right? We're
Yeah.
angry at ourselves. We feel out of control and we're angry at the person who made us feel that way. So there's all these feelings that we are going
Mm-hmm.
through, even if we're the victim or we're the one who's actually hurting somebody else. We have feelings about it. So I
Mm-hmm.
helped him to forgive himself. Okay. And then I brought him back to how he relates with his partner. And he knew how he wanted to handle it. There was a sense of kind of understanding. There was a sense of peace within. And there was a sense of feeling so much more in control of his emotions, of his life, because he knows where it came from. He did the forgiveness, he experienced it, and he's not putting the pressure on himself anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. He's a lot more compassionate with himself. And when you're compassionate with yourself, you can be compassionate with other people because you have that space to give it to somebody else. Okay. And so, in summary, what I wanted to share really is that most of the time we're stuck in these situations. We don't know there's a better way. Or
Yeah.
we might even know, subconsciously we know, but we don't think it's possible, or we don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to go about it. We don't know who's going to teach that to us. There's no school for these things. We just kind of got
Yeah.
to learn these life skills along the way.
Uh-huh.
And Theta Healing is a great way to kind of learn the life skills that we missed perhaps in our childhood. Okay?
Exactly.
What we
And that's
missed in
so
our
powerful. And I love why you said, the reason why you do what you do is so that you can help other people to be their best selves, be the best version of themselves, have their best lives. Because after you experience it, you have no other way to go. You want other people to experience it. You want to share it. Diba? When you're so filled with this peace and this love and this gratitude, all you really it overflows. And all you really want to do is share it with other people because you're like, hey, oh my gosh, it's possible. And that's
yeah.
exactly what I did. It may have been a bit annoying to my family, to my friends, but I was like, guess what I did? There's this thing called Theta Healing, and I'm just like, you guys have to try it because it's really amazing. And the thing is, and I got goosebumps when you were talking about your client last week because that is my husband. And I think we talked about it as well. And I've also talked about it on my podcast, and he knows it. He also grew up in that kind of environment. I did too, a little bit in my younger years, but because I've done the work, a lot of it through therapy and also after Theta Healing, and also why I started the podcast. I really worked on being here in this space. And then I get into a relationship with someone who's very loving, the sweetest man, very, very kind. But when he's angry, he defaults to an energy that he's familiar with. And, diba? And for me, I was able to deal with it, yes, because I also grew up with that. But at the same time, I worked so hard to get away from that. I worked so hard to not be that. And now I'm in this relationship. I'm like, why, God, why? but, but I'm grateful that I am in this space now that I'm also able to share the peace with him, kind of. I don't even know how to describe it. But like every time we fight and he gets to that, at least I know how to deal with me. So we don't butt heads. But also at the same time, he's slowly understanding that energy and the fact that this is not the way to live, and there's a better, easier, more peaceful way of dealing with our emotions and dealing with our anger, right?
Absolutely, Kara. And I want to say that that's exactly how I started. I had a healing session about, I think it was 2006. I had my
Mhm.
first healing session, 2006. Okay.
Mhm.
So over 12 years ago.
Wow.
And I remember I came out of that session because I was lactose intolerant. And I came out of that session and I went to my favorite ice cream parlor, which was Haagen-Dazs at that time, cookies and cream, my favorite ice cream. I remember I just had a healing session. My therapist said, she was like, go and check, go have some dairy and see if you react. And I had been suffering from lactose intolerance for over 8 years at that point with
Mhm.
pretty strong, I would say, pretty strong reactions to eating or ingesting any kind of dairy. Okay. Which means
Mhm.
like I basically have to go to the bathroom
I
and
understand. I'm the same.
I got to run. Yeah. So here I am being like, okay, I'm going to go get ice cream. Let's see.
Uh-huh.
Right. I mean, it can't be that easy, but okay, let's check. So I went and got cookies and cream ice cream. I had the whole thing and I'm like waiting. All right. Am I going to feel uncomfortable? Is there going to be that pain? Do I have to go to the bathroom? What's going on? What's going on? And like nothing happened. No reaction. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird.
Mhm.
Can this really be true? Okay, let me go. And now every day of the week, I tested. I mean, I would try pizza. I was doing lattes. I was doing ice cream. I was eating a lot of unhealthy stuff, all this dairy. But I remember I was on a mission to confirm that this healing had worked.
Yeah.
And it took me that 7 days to be like, oh my God, this is real. I'm really actually no longer lactose intolerant. How
Oh,
can it be
wow.
so easy? And I remember that question, Kara. I remember saying to myself, how can it be so easy? Okay. And if
Uh-huh.
it's so easy, why doesn't everyone else know about it? Why is this like, it feels like a secret. Like nobody told me this. Here I am in my 20s, nobody told me that this is possible.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it wasn't 12 years ago, was it? That's almost 18 years ago? Am I doing the math right? 16 years ago? So it's quite a
Uh-huh.
quite a while
Yeah,
ago,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm thinking, how is this? So imagine more than close to 20 years ago, I'm thinking, how come nobody knows about it? Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm like, why is this of information not available to everybody?
Uh-huh.
And that's what started kind of my journey. I wanted to tell everybody, this is possible. Look what happened to me. If it happened to me, we could do this with anything and
Mhm.
everything. And I literally told my family, my friends, like strangers, I would go to a party and somehow people would just start telling me about what was going on in their problem. I don't know if like I attracted it. It was just the space I was in, and people would just pour their heart out of me. Like everyone's
Uh-huh.
drinking at the party and somebody is having this deep conversation with me about whatever trauma or pain. And I'm like, you should try a theta healing session. You should try this. And
Mhm.
literally in a couple of days, they call me and they're like, I tried it and it worked. And so that's how it was happening in my life. It's just everybody around me was reporting back to me that what you recommended, what you suggested, it's working, which made me want to learn it for myself. And that's how I went on to become a theta healer. I became a past life regressionist. I'm now also a life and business coach. So I've essentially, worked over the last almost 2 decades to give myself all the tools, not only
Mhm.
to help myself, but to help other people. Because as you
Yeah.
say, it's like, if I got all of this in my life, I have to give something back. Like you've got all these people that we read about, that we know about, Steve Jobs or Bill Gates,
Mm.
and a lot of people go on to become philanthropists. They get
Mhm.
really rich from whatever they're doing, okay?
Mhm.
And they decide that they want to give back. And so they create these foundations to help people, because for
Mhm.
them, it's like, I got so much, now it's my turn to give back. Well, it's the same thing for every healer. Okay. When you heal yourself and you realize how powerful it is, because I had
Mhm.
a lot of stuff to clear in my own life. Okay.
Mhm.
And when I realized how powerful it was just kind of like, I have to do this for other people. And I was in corporate, I was in corporate America. I worked in corporate in Dubai. I was on fast track to become like this really successful person in the industry I was in, which was fashion and
Mhm.
retail buying and so on. And I could have taken that path, but something in my heart was like, no, this is more important. This is more meaningful. And if this could work for me, what about all those other people who don't even know about it? And so really my mission became share, share with
Yeah.
people that this is possible. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. You said something else that was really important, Kara, that I wanted to touch upon, the ripple effect. So you
Mhm.
talked about how, you're in this relationship with your husband and now you can share with him. I mean, it's no coincidence that you married someone who you can now
Yeah.
understand why he's the way he is when he gets angry, you
Yeah.
know, why he
Mhm.
reverts to that person. You can understand like somebody else wouldn't be able to. Okay, because
Exactly.
you have your background and you also have this understanding. And
Mhm.
what happens is when we heal, okay, and I'm really telling you this for you as well, Kara, when we
Mhm.
heal, there's a ripple effect. Okay. And so even if the people around you may not feel the same way about healing or going into do theta healing or anything else,
Mhm.
somehow as we change, the people around us start to shift. Okay. And they
Mhm.
shift with us. And so the same person who might have been showing up as this angry person when they're upset, okay, slowly shifts into something else because you've healed yourself. Okay. And
Mhm.
it's not just that you are able to show up for them, okay, but they are going to be able to show up for you because you've done the healing for yourself. Okay. And it happens. And I have this also experience with many of my clients where they come in and suddenly their partner wants to come in, or their mother or their relative or their
Mm.
friends. Like, it's very, very common for me to see somebody
Mhm.
and then see everybody they're connected to, which is kind of why I'm always booked, because it's like
Yeah.
word of mouth. I don't even have to advertise. I don't even have to do anything. It's like just constantly people coming, because there is no greater proof than someone who has healed themselves. You
Yeah.
know, if they feel better and happier and other people can see that, there's no greater proof than that, you know? And
Yeah.
so I really work with people and their families and their circles. And, you know, it's very, very normal for that to happen, which is you do the healing and everybody else around you starts to also either require, like, they want to heal or they change with you, which is why it's really funny. I think 70% of my clients are female, they're women. And
Ah.
they come in and they have relationship issues, but it just takes that one person, just the woman coming in, even though the problem is obviously two people, right? You can't clap with one hand.
Mhm.
It's not a
Yeah.
one-sided problem in any relationship, but just the woman coming in and getting the healing actually changes the behavior of her partner all the time. And I have clients who come in and they're like, Sanaiyah,
Yeah.
why do I have to do all the work? Why do I have to be the one, you know, who's doing the work and then the other person doesn't? And I always tell them, you know, it takes one person, first of all, to create a shift.
Mm.
Okay. You just have to introduce one variable. Number two, nothing is happening to you. It's happening for you. I think I've said that with to you, Kara,
Yeah.
in our previous
Mhm.
episode, but I'm going to kind of reinforce that. Nothing is
Yeah.
happening to you. Nobody's doing anything to you. This situation is happening for you, which
Mhm.
means you have responsibility, even though you feel like somebody else is hurting you or somebody else is being unfair or the injustice is happening to you.
Yeah.
It's still your issue.
Mhm.
Okay. And I often say the person who's more bothered about whatever is going on between them and another person, that's the person that needs the healing. And so
Hmm.
usually it's the woman who takes the initiative, which is great because, you
Yeah.
know, women for centuries have really been the ones to keep families together, right? They've really been the one that bring love into the family, into relationships. And
Mhm.
often that's the case, you know, that's kind of what we carry. That's what we do. We're the ones who perhaps need to take that first step of healing and understand and know and believe that it's going to change everything in the family. And it does.
That's so powerful. It's funny because I just had this conversation with my mom yesterday. I forget what it is that we were talking about, but I just said, "You know what? I'm not even a mom yet. I'm excited to be one." But wow, after all the, the therapy I've been through, even theta healing, I just realized the pressure a woman carries, a mother carries, because everything, the love, the nurturing, everything else comes from, oh, the mom, the woman.
Yeah,
'Di ba? Ang dami nating
absolutely.
karga, and we have so much influence when it comes to the growth and yeah, just the growth and the maturity of a child, about their emotional maturity and everything else. A woman, a mother, that affects. um
See, with power and influence. Oh, hold on a second. I don't know why my notifications are coming here. One second, Kara.
no
How do
problem.
I
I
turn
don't
it
hear it
off?
though.
You don't hear it?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, okay. Great. All right. I'll
your
go back
your
to what I was going to
microphone
say.
is powerful. You're using a
Okay.
condenser mic. It's working. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So with great power and influence comes great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that women, whether they acknowledge it or recognize it or not, have a lot of power and a
Yeah.
lot of influence
Yeah.
in the lives of the people that they support or they love. Okay. I do not for a second, okay, underestimate the power and influence that I have over my children. I mean, my children are going to be the people that they're going to be because of how I mothered them. My husband,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's
Yes.
another one. My husband is going to show up as the person he is in our relationship and to the world because of the power and influence I have over him. And I don't take that lightly. Okay. It's not like, oh, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I have so much power in the relationship. It's not like that. It's the
Yeah.
recognition that everything I say, everything I do has impact. It has impact on the people in my life. Okay. And so it's so
Mm-hmm.
important, not only for myself, but for these people that I love, for me to show up as my best self. Because me at anything less than my best self is going to give less to my children, to my husband, and
Mm-hmm.
even to all the other people that I support, whether it's at my house, at my home, or at my workplace. Okay, so that's another ripple effect. You know, who we
Mm-hmm.
are influences our relationships with everybody. Today, if I'm the type of person who's, combative, aggressive, confrontational, and I have a fight with my husband, right? And then he leaves the
Yeah.
house and he goes to work and he's in a bad mood. And now he's going to carry that negative energy and he's going to get irritable and cranky with all his employees. And he might end
Yeah.
up, being harder on one of his employees because he's just so frustrated from the fight that he had this morning. And then he's going to take it out on his employee. And now that
Mm-hmm.
employee is going to go home having a bad day and he's going to
Oof.
interact with his wife and children and he's going to feel like so crap about his day and his boss taking it out on him that he's going to kind of be rude to his wife or just angry or not have the patience with his children who are
Yeah.
dying to see their father after, missing him all day. And now that child is going to go to bed at night and be like, oh my God, my father doesn't love me. He's always
Mm.
angry. And now that child is going to grow up to be the person who's going to be like, my father was just always angry. He was never in a good mood. I never got that love. And now he feels lack of self-confidence, lack of self-esteem, and then he ends up repeating that. So you see how everything we say and do has impact
Oh,
in
yes.
our life and on all the lives we touch. So it's kind of a matter of, taking responsibility and accountability for yourself. It's not just, oh, I want to live my best life, but I want to live my best life and be my best version because that's my responsibility. Okay. That is my responsibility
And I
to this
affect
world.
everybody else
I
around me.
affect everybody, everybody. Okay. And so we
That
all
reminded
need
me
to pay
of this. Have you ever
attention.
read? Oh, hello. Sorry. I think there's a slight delay. Hello?
Hi, I can hear you.
Oh, there's like a 3 second latency. It's all right. We can edit it. I have them
Edit.
on my
Yeah.
own. Okay. Sorry, you were saying. I cut you there.
No. Go ahead. I was done.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. No, it's really so powerful to come back to that because in the same way, like you said, you fighting with your husband, him bringing it there. It reminded me of this really good book I just read recently, Anxious People by Frederick Backman, I think. Anyway, the story is exactly like that. Like, everybody else is all the characters, no matter how far they are from each other, all affect each other because of everything that happens to every single person. And that's so true. We're all connected. And in the same way that something bad affects everybody else around us, something good also affects everybody else around us. And that's why it's important to take that responsibility. And that's the thing, that's why a lot of people may not be aware that this is possible, but I really honestly feel like there are some people who are, but who do not even want to take that step because it is a huge responsibility. But there's already like 'Di ba meron nang like it's what I have to do it? It's not everybody else's fault because it's easier to blame everybody else around you. It's easier to be the victim. It's heavier, but it's easier to go to
Yeah.
that default because then you don't need to do the work. You'll just
Yeah.
cut everybody out, fight when you're angry, give in to whatever feeling you have in the moment, and then blame it on whoever else, everybody else around you. So that's so important and powerful what you said and how you explained it that way. That one little thing you do or don't do in this moment will affect everybody else. And just
Yeah.
come from that, right?
Yeah.
But having
And you made
said that, go ahead.
Kara, you made an equally good point that it works the opposite way too. That when
Mm-hmm.
you are in a good place, when you are happy, like happiness is contagious, right?
Yeah.
If you are a happy mom, wife, girlfriend, business partner, right? And you're always just in a good mood, of course that's going to affect the people around you. So I could
Yeah.
do the same thing the other way around, and how
Mm-hmm.
that your happiness, your joy is infectious, and it probably spread faster than any COVID virus in the world, right?
Yeah.
So, just you being happy and joyful and being in a good mood, right? It affects everybody. Like my husband always says, you're my strength. You're kind of my backbone. You're like, when things between us are like in the flow, he's in the flow. He feels like he goes to work feeling like he's on top of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we
Yeah.
affect people that way too.
Yeah.
And so it's so important also to recognize that we have the ability of changing people's energy. And the more aware you are, and this is something that I can say of every Theta healer I know,
Mm-hmm.
when you become a Theta healer, so anyone can become a Theta healer. It's just you take the classes. So there's a basic DNA, advanced DNA, and then there's a dig deeper class. It's actually 3 days, 3 days, 2 days. So imagine in 8 days, you can learn how to do Theta healing. And of course, there are higher level classes. And a lot of people, once they start, they kind of want to know more because it
Mm-hmm.
really helps you manifest and you become really great at removing all your blocks and limitations and just creating whatever you want in your life. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you become a Theta healer, your energy shifts. And a Theta healer who walks into the room changes the energy of the room. Okay.
Wow.
Because their energy just goes out. Like if you
Yeah.
read books about the Buddha, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would say his energy would go out for miles. Okay. He would just, go into space and then his energy would just go out for miles. And we say that about any kind of enlightened being. When you're in the company of someone who just is so enlightened or who's so loving or kind or generous or compassionate. We feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You feel good around those people. And you also
Yeah.
know when you're around people who are like energy drains, right? Who are always whining and complaining. And you walk away from that conversation just feeling so like blah or like so down or heavy,
And
right? We know it,
tired.
and tired and exhausted. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has a friend that they're just exhausted around, or, a person they're exhausted around because that's their energy. And
Mm-hmm.
you'll notice now that, if you're listening in, you'll notice this now. If you start paying attention, that some people just make you feel good and some people just make you feel a little heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a lot to do with where that person is in their life and what they're going through. Okay. And
Yeah.
so if you're someone who's worked on yourself, you will have that lighter energy. People will just love being around you. That's why I would go. Actually, I answered my own
Mm-hmm.
question. That's why. And to this date, I will go to any social event and I draw people to me like bees to honey. And they will
Uh-huh.
tell me their kind of deepest, darkest fears and traumas. It just comes out in the most inappropriate situations from anyone else's eyes. And this happened to me like Friday night. I went to a friend's birthday and I was sitting on the couch with one person having deep conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
And I could feel it's just, everybody kind of just feels that level of comfort to talk to me about what's going on in their life.